Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, YouTubers. This is Anonymous T. Hope you're having an amazing day today. So today we're talking Love and Marriage Huntsville, and on today's episode of The Bold and Delusional, Martell Holt's side chick Coleslaw, aka Ariane Curry, aka the mistress that won't go away, aka the side chick who had Martell Holt's child and is still allegedly unhappy and trolling on social media. Now, before I get into this, first and foremost, I want to say I am very sensitive to mental health. I am very sensitive to people who are suffering in silence with real mental health issues. And I want to preface this by saying there are people, unfortunately, who, when things are not going their way, when they do not receive the response that they are hoping for after years of gloating, taunting people, insulting other people's intelligence, and being disrespectful and nasty, that as a last-ditch effort, as a last resort, will go the mental health route, will go the death threat route, and to try to weaponize that from sympathy. And this is where we are, right? Because it was just a couple of months ago that Martell Holt's side chick boldly was on Tasha K's platform giving that mistress interview, insulting Melody Holt once again. Oh, I'm sorry, Melody Cherie once again. And basically telling married women that they need to check their husbands and that the mistress is not the problem. Except for said mistress knew fairly quickly that Martell Holt was a married man with children. So here's what happened a couple of nights ago that Ariane decided to post in her Instagram stories, and it says the following. It says, "This is for the girl ready to end it all. I have been suicidal for almost 3 years. Now it goes from weekly to a daily, especially when that show airs because I'm being silenced. The storyline being put out to make money is not my truth. Please pray for me. Same days, I feel like I can't go on. I'm trying to move forward, but then I've mentioned, like, let your star..." What is this grammar? But then I mentioned, like, let your star take off on her show. Like, why I have to be brought up to keep this shit going. Excuse my language. Y'all, I can't take it. Your entertainment is my real life, and y'all ain't getting the half. Okay, wait. I thought the purpose of Tasha K's interview a couple months ago was for you to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. What do you mean we don't know the half? I feel like we have the whole story. The whole story is you wanted to compete with Melody Holt. You got a kick out of the fact that you were sleeping with a married man who seemed to do a little bit better to do than dudes you were used to. You liked the fact that Martell Holt was spending Melody Holt's hard-earned money because she is the brains of the operation. And you wanted to throw it in her face that you were getting similar gifts, similar things as her. And you kept bragging and gloating the number of times that you got pregnant and how many times you were pregnant at the same time as Melody Holt. And ultimately ended up having a child that's a couple years old now with Martell. You did all of this gloating. Is it not what you wanted? And you were even alluding to the fact that you may even marry the guy. So where were you suicidal in this, where you were disrespecting Melody, where you were calling her out her name, when you were saying everything but her name, and trying to make Melody the villain, and trying to make Melody look bad? In no circumstances is it ever okay to disrespect the spouse that's getting cheated on. They are not in the wrong. There is nowhere on earth where anybody is going to say that this is somebody's fault for getting cheated on other than the person that they married is trifling and is not man enough to handle his business and either separate from the wife and get a divorce or remain faithful to the vows that he made with the wife and try to make the marriage work if there are problems. But instead, we have a mistress now who was bragging about being a mistress, who was bragging about how good she looks, how good her and her friends look. She was dropping the picture about the alleged Atlanta trip and calling allegedly Marceau and Maurice's side chicks linebackers at the big Airbnb that they stayed at for the weekend. And you had all this to say, and you were all like, oh, I can say more, I can allude to more, but then you stopped. You said nothing. And if you are this suicidal, if you are this depressed, why are you on social media? Why are you stalking Melody, Cherie, and all of her ventures that she's got going on? You always post whenever she's at a premiere, whenever she's launching something new. You always come out of hiding to post and, you know, promote your little flop boutique stuff. If the show is causing you this much stress to the point that you are suicidal, why are you still tuning in? If you are this suicidal to where you truly feel you cannot go on, why aren't you seeing a therapist? Why aren't you talking to a therapist? Why are you posting this on social media trying to garner sympathy now? As if the last 3 years you haven't been, you know, taunting Mel, saying, oh, I'm who you've been looking for, and outing yourself and starting beef with all these people, and then trying to play like you couldn't stand Martell and you were over him and you were single and thriving, only to end up pregnant with this child. And recently, as a few days ago, he was seen at your daughter's 10th birthday party. So which is it? Are you so depressed and you're so suicidal that you can't go on and you can't live your life? Or is this a last-ditch effort for sympathy and attention because the Tasha K interview did not garner the results that you were looking for, other than a few thousand more followers than what you had previously? We're gonna keep it real. We're going to keep it real because it is not fair. People who are mean and nasty and brag about sleeping with a married man and having a married man's child for 3 years straight, insulting the wife, insulting Melody, making Melody the issue, believing all of the garbage that Martell Holt has brainwashed you and brainwashed you about the show, who called you on national television a peasant, a non-factor, and a Honda Accord, and you still chose to lay down with the man and conceive a child with him. That has nothing to do with Melody Holt. And nobody produced Martell to say those things. He willingly said that out of his own mouth to a therapist and to his castmates during the reunion show. Nobody forced him to do that. He wasn't manipulated by Carlos King or anybody else at the production company to say those things. That willingly came out of Martell Holt's mouth about you, and you still chose to lay down with that man and boast about this man and boast about sleeping with the married man because you thought you were getting one over Mel. And now reality has set in that Martell is not as loaded as you thought he was, because it was primarily Melody Cherie's source of income that is the brains behind all of these operations, which is why she is booked and busy. She is thriving with all of these ventures since the divorce. Meanwhile, you have low budget trinkets and vacations where Martell still will not post you on his social media accounts. Make it make sense. He's still treating you very much like the side chick you are. You should have been engaged at least by now. You at least should have gotten something out of this. And it's clear that Martell doesn't respect you and respects you even less now that you have a child together. And really is only using you at this point to feed you bad intel and insecure and messy intel about his ex-wife because he is bitter that she left him. He thought he could get away with still trying to be with the both of you for the rest of his life and, you know, still hold up the image of this married man with kids and still have a mistress on the side, and everybody was going to be happy. Everybody was going to agree to be sister wives, except for Melody Cherie said no. Melody Cherie dissolved all of the joint business ventures the two of you had, so you had no more access to make money off of her, and she packed up and left. So now you are crying wolf. Now you're trying to get sympathy from people and trying to pull at the heartstrings of the fan base and make it seem as though, woe is me, I'm not going to continue on anymore, this and that, when there are real people who are suffering in silence. There are real people who are struggling with suicidal thoughts. There are real people who are struggling with depression to the point that they're not on social media, to the point that they're not gloating and taunting others because they are too upset, they are too depressed to do so. They are sleeping all of day, they are missing work, they are missing activities with their family, they are missing hanging out with their friends because they are truly too depressed to continue. And literally letting themselves go because of how dark their thoughts and their emotions are with whatever is troubling them. They are not on social media trying to weaponize suicide. They are not on social media trying to weaponize mental health issues for attention. And the thing that invalidates this the most is you recently, allegedly, according to Funky Dineva himself, tried to score another interview after the whole Tasha K stuff. So how suicidal are you if you're still trying to reach out to Black bloggers to tell, quote, your story, which was supposed to be the platform that you went on Tasha K's show for, was to, quote, tell the story. But now that you're not happy, that you're still getting dragged, that you essentially deleted all of the posts gloating about your Tasha K interview and gloating about the views in the first 24 hours and this and that, thinking that you won when really you fell for the trap. You fell for the okie doke. People were not watching because they were in support of you or they were fans of you. The only people who are fans of you are mistresses themselves. Everybody else was watching to see what more lies you were going to say, how much worse you were going to slander Melody Cherie, and then they were going to promptly drag you afterwards. That's why people tuned in. They were tuning in to see how much more you were going to lie. There was a smidge number of people who maybe thought that you've learned your lesson, maybe thought that you would get on Tasha K's platform and say, you know what? I was young, I was stupid, I was immature for bragging and boasting and believing the lies of a married man and thinking that I had something over the wife, except for now I have a child and a man who only wants to be around me when it's to spite his ex-wife or to spill tea about his ex-wife because he's bitter that she left him and moved on. But instead, you used the platform, you used Tasha K's interview to double down on all of the taunting and all of the disrespectful things that you have said about Melody Cherie the past 3 years. And even was trying to allegedly spill Melody Cherie's medical business and her personal business that was probably fed to you by Martell. Nothing in that interview was anything new or revealing other than, you know, descriptions about the alleged Atlanta trip, which you still really said all of nothing. So again, what do you have to tell? What is the half that we do not know? Because as of now, you've had plenty of opportunities to tell your truth. And the other side of this is the real tea is you're still pissed off that after all of this, after all of these shenanigans, you still are not going to be invited on Love and Marriage Huntsville. You are still not going to have a platform on Love and Marriage Huntsville, and that's the real reason you're mad. Because a show that is supposed to be about love and marriage and making business moves is not going to showcase a mistress and give her a check to try to desanitize the franchise. It's not going to happen, especially when you were the mistress of the wife who brought the show to OWN, who is the executive producer. And the reason that you're still pressed is because you are still in comments of Carlos King begging to be on the show, telling him, quote, to stop using your name for ratings. They don't need to use your name for ratings. This is Melody Cherie's real life. Had you not knowingly slept with a married man and taunted his wife for years and did all this bragging and boasting on social media and promoting your flop boutique at your new followers, we wouldn't even know who you are or that you even existed. Or we would have ignored you and paid you dust even when it was revealed who you were. But you made it a point to make yourself known. You wanted the clout, you wanted the fame, you wanted the attention that the show is giving the other cast members of the show, and you wanted a piece of the pie. And that's really all this is about. They film, you know, they're filming what, the 4th season, or just recently wrapped the 4th season, and now all of a sudden you're suicidal. Now all of a sudden you're in the comments of Carlos King about an unrelated post on the Shade Room, trying to get attention once more. It's just not adding up. It's not making sense, and you look silly. But here's the thing. Trying to blame the show, trying to blame OWN, having the nerve to even blame Oprah, who's not even involved in the day-to-day at OWN anymore, because she sold most of the stock of, you know, OWN or whatever to Discovery Plus, but that's neither here nor there. But you're blaming all of these people except for taking accountability and responsibility for your own actions, that none of this would have happened had you shut things down with Martell Holt the moment you found out he was married. But instead, you thought that you were going to get the same privileges that Melody Cherie had. You thought you were going to have access to the same lifestyle that Melody Cherie had. You had this fantasy that you were going to live the big, luxurious life, except for only thing Martell is providing you is $70 trips to Miami. And not even featuring you in the photos. So what is there to brag about? What is there to gloat about when you're still being hidden after all of these years? And the gag is, Martell Holt is going to marry another woman before you. He is going to marry a woman that he feels is the closest thing to Melody Cherie, and that is not you. Because you're not making big money moves that can elevate Martell Holt's platform like Melody Cherie did when they were married. So therefore, he will use you temporarily while he is pissed at all of the business ventures Melody Cherie has happening, while he is pissed that, you know, his ex-wife had the audacity to leave him and divorce him and leave him with nothing, he uses you for, you know, the temporary baby mama sex as well as to vent to you about his ex-wife. And you can't handle it. But nobody told you to put yourself in this predicament. Nobody told you to knowingly be with a married man and then try to flip the narrative and make it seem like it's everybody else's fault but yours. And trust me, we drag Martell. But this new age where mistresses think that they should have a voice too and that they should be respected and treated with such, and you're knowingly sleeping with a married man, you're knowingly getting pregnant multiple times by a married man, and you're taunting the wife actively for years about this, and now because you finally have a clue, somebody finally clued you in that people are not laughing with you, they are laughing at you, and you did not get what you wanted out of the situation with Martell, which was at least a marriage by now, at least some sort of commitment by now. You want to cry wolf on social media and you want to use mental health as an excuse. Now, first and foremost, I hope there's nothing wrong. But it is very sus that you're all of a sudden out of the blue coming out with this mental health and suicidal stuff now that people are over you and people did not respond fondly to the Tasha K interview, even though you were deluded enough to think otherwise because of the number of views it brought in. People were not watching in those numbers because they were fans of you. They were fans of Love and Marriage Huntsville and predominantly Melody Cherie supporters. So they were going to dissect what you said and dissect how you conducted yourself and dissect any lies or any inappropriate information you were selling and telling about Melody Cherie, and they were going to drag you for it. That's why people were tuning in. They were not tuning in because they were a fan of Martell Holt's side chick, who, you know, had an active part in helping contributing Martell Holt completely ruining his marriage. You can't defend having a role in destroying a family and actively gloating about it and actively gloating and saying on social media that you stole a married man who still will not claim you. Where's that energy? Where's that energy? I know you guys saw all of the taunting things and all the bragging that this side chick did. And now because finally either somebody clued her in or reality set in that Martell respects her even less and uses her when he needs her to for optics, or if he is not able to spend time with his other children, that it's not all rainbows and flowers like you thought it was going to be. That it's not the happily ever after that you were bragging that it was going to be. You thought that you were special. Every mistress thinks they're special. You thought that you could tear down Melody Cherie. You thought that you could break her down and that she would be homeless and destitute and poor and broke and miserable without Martell Holt as her husband. And instead, she is completely elevated and upgraded herself even more. She turned her lemons into lemonade. She is killing it, and it is bothering you that you have no access to that life anymore. That you have to make low-budget birthday parties and not even feature Martell Holt. You're not even allowed to post him on your page. You could only post the balloons. The balloons and your daughter. That's what you could only post. You couldn't even post that Martell was there. So make it make sense. What is it to brag about that you're still being hidden after all this time? Even after Martell and Melody Cherie are long divorced. Why are you still hidden? Why are you still not being seen? Because Martell does not respect you. And he never did respect you. And he was never going to respect you. All that glitters isn't gold. And where was the suicide talk when you went on the Tasha K interview? Where was that clip? Was that edited out? Because I didn't see it. And if you were truly suicidal, why are you cussing out other black bloggers and coming for them, but then demanding them give you an interview for you, quote, to tell your side after the Tasha K interview? That was supposed to be the interview that you, quote, exposed everything. Why is there still more things you, quote, need to expose if you already told us, you told your truth and you told everything you needed to say, but you don't like the narrative? And it's too late to apologize. I'm sorry. It's too late because it's not going to be genuine at this point. Like this attempt at, trying to garner last bit of sympathy about being, quote, suicidal, this apology is going to be, once again, a last-ditch effort. But it's not going to be genuine because you've had plenty of time to apologize to Melody. But instead, you were bold and would call Martell's phone demanding Melody to put him on the line. Like that's not his wife. So I know you don't have it in you to humble yourself and ever apologize to Melody. Because if you did, you would have done that a long time ago. If you had any true remorse or regret, you would have said as such a long time ago. But instead, because you have no other card to play, you have no other angle, you have no way of ever making this show, and all you get to hear is the pillow talk from Martell continuing to complain about his ex-wife. And so this is the last ditch effort that you have. This is the last card you have to play. In hopes that it's going to change the narrative. In hopes that you are going to get some sort of sympathy or some sort of empathy from fans. But here's the thing. There's been too many women who've been cheated on either as a girlfriend or as a wife who do not respect you. Who do not believe your sob story. Especially a mistress, like I said, who was boasting and bragging and telling everyone and anyone who would listen that she was sleeping with a married man who was on a reality TV show. As if that's a flex, number one. It's never a flex to brag about somebody being with somebody who's unavailable, who's legally unavailable. Make it make sense that the best you can do is unavailable men. And then want to cry wolf when you finally get the wake-up call after years that people don't see it for you and never saw it for you. Like you don't realize the number of women who can relate to Melody. You don't realize the number of women who have been in Melody's position, who have been cheated on, who have been humiliated, who had a disrespectful mistress, who was reckless and acted like there was nothing for anybody to lose, and bragging like it was some sort of achievement that you slept with a married man. There are too many Melodies out there who were never going to support you, who were never going to take you seriously. So pulling this last stunt and still trying to contact bloggers on the low to, quote, tell your story is not going to gain the sympathy or the attention that you're looking for. It is going to cause more people to drag you. Your best bet is to stay off social media, stop having your Google alerts on for whenever the show airs, whenever a trailer clip drops, whenever anything messy on social media is happening, stop stalking Melody Cherie's post and what she's got going on, and then choosing to post the same time as her, choosing to post the same time the show comes on, posting immediately when the credits air for Love and Marriage Huntsville. If you are truly suicidal, if you were truly that depressed, you would have no idea even when the show came on. You have no idea what Melody Cherie is even up to. And outside of co-parenting, you would have nothing to do with Martell Holt. But instead, you want to be in the mix. Instead, you probably saw that executive producer check that Martell has, and you want some of the pie. You see Melody leveling up, and you want to do the same, except where people are not going to support nothing but the Little Flop Boutique. You couldn't even survive nursing school. You don't even know what a two-parent household is. You couldn't even accurately put in perspective your true thoughts and feelings because the grammar and the reach was so bad in the post. So where do you think you're going to go from here exactly? Where do you think you're going to go from here? Because Martell thought that he was, somehow going to get one over Melody, thought he was insulting her. And the fact that she doesn't care, the fact that she's booked and busy and unbothered, Martell really has no use for you. And that's why the last-ditch effort was trying to spill minimal tea, allegedly, on Marceau and Maurice. But even still, you look like a clown because Martell and Maurice and Marceau are still hanging out like the good boys club, like the good cheating adventures together have never stopped. So what was all that for? Trying to post the picture, trying to get a reaction. All it did was brought the cheating men closer together, who probably have other mistresses and girlfriends that they're entertaining together, and you are pressed. But until you're remorseful for your actions, people are never going to take you seriously. And because so much messiness and negative things have transpired and have come out of your mouth, people are not going to take you seriously at this point. Like this suicidal post, people are going to think it's a reach. People are going to think it's an attention grab. People are going to think it's a last-ditch effort to gain the fans, the love, the favor that Melody Cherie has. That's what you want. You want the love and admiration that Melody has. And, quote, accusing Carlos King of using Mel as, quote, a favorite, when literally there would be so many people being dragged if they were ever to portray Melody Holt as the issue. Oh, I'm sorry, Melody Cherie is the issue. Because nobody being cheated on is the issue. The issue is the cheater. The issue is the cheater and their insecurities that they couldn't be mature enough to handle their marital issues in private and not seek outside of the marriage and break your vows and break the vows that you set in front of your family, friends, and God. So you weren't thinking about being suicidal and this depressed when you thought that you won the prize of a married man. When you thought you had access to Melody Cherie's money. When you thought you had access to Melody Cherie's lifestyle. When you thought you had access to the low budget trips. That it was a flex, that you still weren't being seen or showed. Or when you thought it was a flex to finally, after several abortions, finally have a married man's child. And now you're seeing it's not all what it's cracked up to be. There's still no respect for you. It still did not garner you any type of platform to make money or be famous other than being known as Martell Holt's mistress and the mistress who continues to disrespect and taunt the wife. And she's not even thinking about you or discussing you. And she's moving up, leveling up, and has all these business ventures to the point that you and Martell are watching from the shadows, trying to figure out how you can capitalize, except for nobody cares. And since Martell doesn't have use for you outside of sex and outside of being around whenever he's not seeing his other kids, that's all you are good for him for. But trust and believe, Martell has other women he's entertaining. So what was the point? What did you accomplish in all of this? Other than some followers on Instagram and more people who can't stand you. Make it make sense. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this. What do you guys think of Ariane's latest stunt? Because again, I am no proponent of anybody that uses mental health, uses suicide as an attempt for sympathy. After years exhibiting behavior that is not reflective of somebody who is depressed, is not reflective of somebody who is truly suicidal, is not reflective of somebody who truly has mental health issues, because they would be completely removed from all things social media, all things pertaining to Love and Marriage Huntsville, all things pertaining to anybody affiliated with Love and Marriage Huntsville, and also removed from contacting bloggers still trying to do an interview after Tasha K. Your actions are not matching your words. Your actions are not matching your statements. And still, you have no remorse. Still, you refuse to apologize to the wife. Still, you're being nasty and disrespectful on people's DMs because you can't get your way. And you can't change the narrative. So until you come to terms with that and truly humble yourself and spend some time with your family and your true loved ones, if you are really this depressed and suicidal, nobody's going to believe you. So those are my thoughts. Please let me know what you guys think of this. What do you think of this latest stunt by Martell Holt side chick? What do you guys think? Please, those of you, to my followers, thank you so much for your support. We are on the road to 10K. Love all of you. You guys are incredible. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post new content on my channel. And with that being said, I will talk to you guys again very soon.